We've just had to spend 3 years fighting the immigration ministry for documents that they claimed didn't exist. Our first request was filed November 26, 2018, and since January 2019, they've been telling us they've got no records. 3 years later, the government has had to admit they were lying, confirmed to us in writing by the Information Commissioner. The Liberals can no longer hide their dealings with George Soros and his Open Society Foundation. In September 2016, the Trudeau government partnered with George Soros' Open Society Foundation to increase the number of refugees entering Canada. Now, what exactly was that agreement? I'm a Canadian. I want to know. I think you want to know too. And we are legally entitled to know this stuff through access to information. To find out more details on the agreement, we sent a simple letter to the Immigration Department under Access to Information Law. We did this way back in 2018, and we do this sort of work through crowdfunding to a special website, rebelinvestigates.com. Now, here's what we asked. It was simple. Regarding the agreement between the Government of Canada, the United Nations HCR, and the Open Society Foundation to launch a joint initiative aimed at increasing private sponsorship of refugees around the world, as announced at the below link, please provide copies of all background and supporting policy documents. Include copies of any agreements involved. Provide only final or latest versions of documents. And they wrote back to us. Following a thorough search of our information holdings, I regret to inform you that no records were found that respond to your request. This is impossible. The government can't do anything without a dozen or so bureaucrats being involved. And that's not even close to an exaggeration. I know because I see these documents all the time. I see the email chains, the endless email chains with hundreds of bureaucrats. For example, that's how about 24 bureaucrats were involved in the planning of Catherine McKenna's constantly embarrassing tweets when she was our ridiculous climate change minister. They were all in the email chain. But there's not a word on paper this time, not a chance in hell. We knew they were lying. How does a major international immigration announcement prompt 0 emails, not even for the planning of the press release itself? So we went to work appealing this refusal. The government, however, doesn't call it a refusal. They say there's just nothing to give, which is 100% not true. The access to information law is clear. If there are relevant records, I have the right to be told that. And unless there is a special exemption, such as national security, we all have a right to see them. Immigration did not invoke any such exemption. They just claimed there's nothing there. And we now have proof that they were lying. Here's the letter I got from the Information Commissioner. Now, this is bigger news than just an ATIP being hidden. The government was actively hiding their collaboration with George Soros, and they were calling anyone who asked about it a conspiracy theorist or an anti-Semite. If we didn't pursue and push and fight, nothing would have ever come out. And whatever information there is to know about George Soros' Open Society Foundation and the Canadian government's dealings with that left-wing mega charity would remain hidden from the people who have to live with the consequences of those dealings. I have one document, and I'm going through it now. Information Commissioner's final report. Complaint. The complaint alleged that Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada did not conduct a reasonable search in response to an access request under the Access to Information Act regarding the agreement between the Government of Canada, the UNHCR, and the Open Society Foundation to launch a joint initiative to increase private sponsorship of refugees. Investigation. The IRCC was required to conduct a reasonable search for records that fall within the scope of the access request. That is, one or more experienced employees knowledgeable in the subject matter of the request must have made reasonable efforts to identify and locate all records reasonably related to the request. A reasonable search involves a level of effort that would be expected of any fair, sensible person tasked with searching for responsive records where they are likely to be stored. This search does not have to be perfect. An institution is therefore not required to prove with absolute certainty that further records do not exist. Institutions must, however, be able to show that they took reasonable steps to identify and locate responsive records. What they're saying here is the bar is actually pretty low. They don't have to be perfect, but they have to be able to demonstrate that they kind of tried. Let's keep reading. Did the institution conduct a reasonable search for records? Based on IRCC's representations and following the Office of the Information Commissioner's intervention, IRCC provided the complainant with a responsive record that IRCC claims did not exist at the time of the request. The result? The complaint is resolved. This is so much larger than just one access to information being hidden from us. We know now the government was actively hiding their collaboration with George Soros and calling anyone who asked about it a conspiracy theorist or an anti-Semite. If we didn't pursue and push and fight, nothing would have ever come out. And whatever information there is to know about George Soros's Open Society Foundation and the Canadian government's dealings with that left-wing mega-charity would remain hidden from the people who have to live with the consequences of those dealings. That's us, Canadians. Now, we have one document. I'm going through it right now, and we aren't even close to done with these liars. We've also sent in a new access to information about the frenzied communications that surely went back and forth as bureaucrats plotted to break access to information laws and lie to Canadians for the sake of protecting a powerful left-wing foreign billionaire who is very, very friendly with the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland. Now, we can't do this work without your help. We're fighting an army of obviously lying bureaucrats for information they're legally obligated to release to us. We have been working and filing and appealing this one for 3 years without a penny in bailouts. We rely on the support of our viewers at home to ask questions. The mainstream media is paid by Trudeau to never ask, but to also smear the askers for the crime of being intellectually curious. To help fund our research and access to information investigations, please visit rebelinvestigates.com and donate today. And please be sure to subscribe to rebelnews.com because I am going through this Soros information package now, and you don't want to miss that story. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid.